On this channel, we provide useful programming information with practical code examples. This time, it's about the CSS properties related to the box model. You can learn in detail how to describe properties such as width, height, and margins. For example, you can check how the display differs when specifying max content or fit content for the width property. It also includes practical aspects such as how calculations differ when specifying content box or border box for the box sizing property, so please watch until the end. Enabling subtitles will make the code descriptions easier to understand. Please make use of it. Now, let's take a look at the width and height properties. The width and height properties are CSS properties used to specify the width and height of an element. These are particularly used when setting the size of block elements, images, videos, etc. In the width-height fixed class, fixed values are specified for width and height. In the width-height percent class, percentage values are specified for width and height. The width and height properties can have the following values. Auto, default size. Automatically adjusts the size relative to the parent element. Fixed values. Specifies a fixed width in pixels, percentages, or relative units. For example, 250px sets the element size to 250 pixels, and 50% sets it to 50% of the parent element's size. Min content fits the minimum size of the content. Max content fits the maximum size of the content. Fit content adjusts the element's size appropriately based on the content's size. Min width, max width, min height, and max height are CSS properties used to set size constraints regarding the width and height of an element. Using these, you can ensure that an element stays within a specific size range. Next, let's look at the margin and padding properties. Margin and padding are properties used in CSS to control the outer and inner spacing of elements within the box model. They are used to adjust the space between elements and to tidy up appearances. In the margin padding class, both margin and padding are specified. There is margin space outside the solid border and padding space inside the solid border. In the margin-only class, only margin is specified. You can see that the blue area is smaller compared to the margin padding class because there is no padding space inside the solid border. In the no margin class, both margin and padding are set to 0. You can see that the blue area is pushed all the way to the left because there is no margin space outside of the solid border. In this way, the margin property sets the outer space of an element, adjusting the distance between elements. On the other hand, the padding property sets the inner space of an element, adjusting the distance between the content and the border. Now, let's take a look at the margin property. The margin property sets the outer space, margin, of an element. It is used to create space between adjacent elements. The following values can be specified. Fixed values. You can specify the size of the margin in pixels, relative units, rem, or percentages. Auto, useful for centering block elements. When the width is specified, it automatically adjusts the left and right margins. Positive and negative values. Positive values expand the space, while negative values bring elements closer together. The margin property can take from 1 to 4 values. 1 value applies to all sides. 2 values. The first applies to top and bottom, the second to left and right. 3 values. Applies in the order of top, left and right, bottom. 4 values. Applies in the order of top, right, bottom, left. Next, let's take a look at the padding property. The padding property sets the inner space, padding, of an element. It is used to create space between the content and the border of an element. The following values can be specified. Fixed values. Specifies the size of the padding. Negative values cannot be used. Padding values can only be specified as positive numbers. Like margin, you can specify from 1 to 4 values. 1 value applies to all sides. 2 values. The first applies to top and bottom, the second to left and right. 3 values. Applies in the order of top, left and right, bottom. 4 values. Applies in the order of top, right, bottom, left. Next, let's take a look at the box sizing property. Box sizing is a CSS property that controls how the width and height of an element are calculated. In the content box class, the width of the element is 360 px. The width is 300 px, with left and right padding totaling 40 px and left and right border totaling 20 px, making a total of 360 px. In border box, the width of the element is 300 px. Padding and border are included in the specified width. There are mainly 2 values for box sizing, content box, and border box, with content box being the default value. When content box is specified, only the content width and height are set by width and height. Padding and border are added to it to determine the final size. In other words, width and height refer only to the content area. In this example, the specified width is 200 px, but with the widths of left and right, padding, and border added, the final actual width of the element is 260 px. When border box is specified, width and height are calculated including padding and border. In other words, the specified width and height become the total size of the content, padding, and border. In this case, the specified width is 200 px, and since padding and border are also included, the final actual width of the element remains 200 px. Padding and border are adjusted within it. Using border box stabilizes the layout. Adding padding or border does not change the specified size, making calculations simple. It is useful when creating flexible layouts. In responsive designs or complex layouts, border box is often used to avoid unexpected size fluctuations. By setting CSS in this way, you can apply border box to all elements to avoid unexpected size changes. Box sizing controls whether padding and border are included in an element's width and height. Using border box makes size calculations easier and is suitable for responsive design. Next, let's look at the visibility property. The visibility property is used to show or hide elements, but unlike the display property, it affects the layout even if the element is hidden. It only hides the element, retaining its original position and size without affecting the layout of other elements. The visibility property can be set to the following values. Specifying visible will display the element. This is the default value. Specifying hidden will hide the element, but its layout space will be reserved. Collapse is mainly used for table rows or columns. The element becomes invisible and its space is also ignored. When applied to table rows or columns, the hidden rows or columns are completely removed from the layout. However, when used on regular block or inline elements, except table elements, it behaves like hidden, and the layout space is retained. Specifying inherit will inherit the visibility property value from the parent element. There are the following differences between visibility and display. Visibility. Hidden hides the element but retains its space and layout. Display. None completely removes the element from the layout, allowing other elements to fill that space. The source code for this video can be downloaded from the official website. If you like, please visit the URL in the description to aid your learning. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a thumbs up. Thank you for watching.